So now I want to go through the process of learning how to lengthen your exhalation as much as possible. And to do this, I'm going to get you to try your own natural out-breath, measure how long it goes, and then I'll give you some techniques to see if you can make it a little bit more effective. So sit up straight. I'm going to ask you in a moment to make a full breath in, and then having made a full breath in, I'm going to ask you to very, very slowly breathe out, and if possible, I want you to exhale, breathe out, up to 1 minute, which is something which is ideal if you can learn, if you'd like to practice functional, viable pranayama, which can actually have more than just a physical effect, which will actually help you increase your prana, as opposed to just stretch the muscles of the lungs and things like this. Okay, so take a breath in, prepare. Blow out all the air. Then take a full breath in. Hold the breath in. And when I click twice, I'm going to ask you to exhale, slowly. Start to exhale. Exhale as slowly as you can, as long as you can. Keep exhaling if you can. That's 10 seconds. Keep exhaling if you can. And exhaling very, very slowly. If you need to stop, keep doing it. 20 seconds. Keep breathing out if you can. Notice for this first time if you push the air out too quickly. So if you push the air out too quickly, you'll have none left. Keep exhaling if you can, 45 seconds. And if you need to take an extra breath, keep exhaling if you can. Keep exhaling if you can, 45 seconds. Or 40 seconds rather. Keep exhaling if you can. Keep exhaling if you can. Keep exhaling 50 seconds. Keep exhaling another 10 seconds more if you can. Squeeze out all the air. Keep exhaling. 1 minute. All right, so how did you go? Some of you will find that you could only exhale 10 seconds. Some even less. Some maybe could do 1 minute. So what I'd like to do now is just go through the process that allows you to exhale a little bit longer. And so to exhale longer, a couple of important points. One is, don't let the air out so fast. So to not let the air out so fast, some people use the Ujjayi pranayama, where you constrict the base of the throat. And so if you breathe, then it'll make a sound like a wind tunnel. So maybe you can hear that. But the louder your sound is, the more you're forcing the breath out. So don't go for a loud sound if you want to lengthen the exhalation. It's a very, very quiet sound. And the most proficient people doing pranayama, you can't hear their breath at all. Yet maybe they can hear their breath, but no one else can. This is part of pratyahara, drawing the breath inwards. So that's the first point, by letting the air come out a little bit slower. The second thing to let the air out, to not let the air out so fast, is to not tighten the muscles. So the more you tighten the muscles, the more you push the air out quicker. Also, the chest, if it's fully expanded, if you let the chest collapse, a lot of air goes out quickly. So if you can, you let the chest collapse slowly. You control the release of the chest muscles. And that will also help the air go out a little bit slower. And then the next thing is how you breathe out. Now you can breathe out from the chest first, the tummy second. Or you could breathe out using your back. You could breathe out using your arms. So I want you to use the concept once again of the trunk being like a cylinder. A cylinder has so much volume. If you make the cylinder narrower, the volume will decrease. And if you decrease the volume of your trunk, it will actually push the air out. Similarly, for inhalation, if you increase the volume of your body, then if the holes in your face, nose and mouth are open, it will cause air to come in. For example, some people will hear the sentence, when you breathe into the chest gets bigger. That's something you might hear. I ask you, true or false? Is it true to say that when you breathe into the chest gets bigger. Well, in truth, it's not true. The true statement is, when you make your chest bigger, air will come into the chest. It's not that when you breathe in, it makes the chest bigger. So similarly, if I put my hands together and I pull them apart, there's a suction. Can you hear the suction? That suction comes because as I make the space between my hands bigger, greater volume, it causes a reduction in pressure, which causes a suction, which pulls air between the space in my hands. So it wouldn't be correct for me to say, I'm going to put air between my hands and that makes my hands move apart. It's not done that way. It's I make my hands move apart, which creates an increased volume, a suction-like pressure, which pulls air between my hands. So similarly with the chest, if I make my chest bigger, that causes an increase in volume, which makes the air come into my nostrils. But similarly, if I make the chest or the trunk smaller in volume by narrowing the trunk, that will push the air out. So I can do that from the front like this. Watch. I inhale, and I can exhale by pulling the tummy in. Air goes out because I've pulled the tummy in. I can exhale by pulling the chest in. Air goes out because I've pulled the chest in. Let me show you from the side, and you can see this from the side. I inhale fully, and then I can exhale. I lift up my arm so you can see my chest. I'll exhale from my abdomen, like this. And by pulling my abdomen in, that makes me exhale. I can exhale from the chest, pulling the chest in. That makes me exhale. And so by narrowing the width of my body as you look from the side, that reduces trunk volume, which causes air to go out. So this you can also do from the back of the body. So this time, watch, I'm going to exhale my back first, then my front second. And I'll point with my fingers where I'm exhaling. I take a full breath in to my back, full breath into my front. Now the width has increased. I hold my breath in for a moment, and then I'll point and make a double click where I'm exhaling. First from my back, then from my front. So then I narrowed my back and I narrowed my front, bringing front and back closer to each other, and that squeezes the breath out most efficiently. Now, how you breathe out will depend on the pranayama you're doing, and some ways have better functioning and purposes than other ways. For example, I can do as I did then, which was to breathe in, and then breathe out and out. So when I breathed out, in other words, I breathed out moving up the back, breathed out moving up the front. I could exhale fully front and back at the same time. But if you exhale sequentially, so you actually move your consciousness and your breath one vertebrae at a time, moving it up the spine or down the spine, it acts a little bit like when you squeeze a toothpaste tube. When you squeeze a toothpaste tube from the bottom upwards, it pushes the toothpaste to the top of the tube. But if you squeeze the toothpaste tube in the middle, the toothpaste goes to the top and bottom of the tube. Now, that irritates people in the bathroom. But if you do that with your trunk, what happens is anything which causes one part of the trunk only to push inwards or to pull outwards will cause uneven blood flow. Because in most of the body, there are one-way backflow valves, meaning in the veins of the body, the veins are the blood vessels that take the blood back to the heart, there are one-way backflow valves. So in your arms and in your legs, if you squeeze the thighs like I'm doing now, like this, it will squeeze the blood out of the blood vessels where I'm squeezing, and it will push the blood towards my heart. The blood will not get pushed towards my legs, because there's a one-way backflow valve, like a door that only opens inwards but not outwards. So as you squeeze the thighs, it will push the blood toward the heart, but not back the other way. Similarly with the arms, the one-way backflow valves in the arms mean that when I squeeze my arm, either with my hand, like an external pressure massage, or with my muscle, by making the muscle tight, that will squeeze veins, blood vessels that go back to the heart to actually help blood flow go back to the heart and promote circulation. So one of the ways you can promote circulation is by tensing and then relaxing muscles. When you tense a muscle in your arm, or you squeeze a muscle with an external massage, that pushes the blood toward the heart. When you relax a muscle in the arm or the leg, or release the pressure of an external pressure massage, that will cause the one-way backflow valves to open and pull the blood toward that region. So this is a useful way of moving blood, contracting and expanding muscles. It's called the musculoskeletal pump of blood through the body. Now, this pump will always work to pull blood toward the heart if you're talking arms and legs. But if you're talking anywhere around the spine is known for the last 80 years to have valveless veins around the spine. Valveless veins around the spine mean that if you squeeze the middle of your trunk, the blood won't go back to the heart, it'll go in both directions. Hence, it's really important to move your spine in a wave-like fashion, from the bottom to the top, or the top to the bottom. And by doing that, you actually are doing like squeezing the toothpaste tube from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, and it promotes the flow of blood in the body. This is why when you see a cat and a dog do upward-facing cat or dog poses, they're doing it one vertebrae at a time. And this is important, not just in posture, but in breathing as well. So what I'd like you to do with me is practice now a breath where, as relaxed as possible, I want you to breathe in up the back. So let's just breathe in fully first, actually. I want you just to take a full breath in. We'll practice that, and we'll make an emphasis on just the exhalation. So this second type of pranayama is called exhalation emphasis pranayama. And before you learn how to bring all the parts of the breath together in one breath, it's good to practice the individual parts. So this type of practice is just for the exhalation. So I'm going to ask you to take a full breath in and then make a long, long exhale, which if possible I'd like you to do for 1 minute. And if you've couldn't do very much before, see if this increases your ability to do it. If you could inhale for a minute before, see if at the end of the minute I'm doing now, you've still got air to exhale. So I can exhale for 2 minutes. With practice, not a problem. And some people can exhale longer. The longer you can learn to extend the breath, this gives you the basis for good pranayama. Okay, so sit up straight. And having sat up straight, just push the sitting bones down, the top of the hips back to lengthen the lower back, ribs back, lift the upper back, bring the shoulders apart, relax your throat. And then from that position, begin with a full breath in, and then blow out all the air. Again, inhale, blow out all the air, and then take a full breath in. Hold the breath in, and when the double click starts, we're going to exhale together as long as you can. Begin by lowering the tailbone and then pushing in the lower back slightly. Feel the air come out slowly from the lower back, then gradually from the middle of your back. That's 15 seconds. Then push in the middle of your back to the upper part of the back, and then push in slightly with a sense of pressure to the base of the back of the skull, lift the skull up higher, and that's 30 seconds. Then bring your attention to the lower abdomen and start to exhale by pulling the lower abdomen ever so slightly inwards without hardening if possible. 40 seconds. Then exhale from the middle abdomen. Then exhale from the upper abdomen. Then exhale from the lower ribs. Then exhale from the upper ribs. Then exhale fully, and that's just over a minute. So was that easier for you working like that? If it was, then it's helpful. If you still can't exhale long, then try and be even more passive, even let the air out slower. So let's try it again, but this time let's add one more feature. Now that you get the idea that the exhalation doesn't just have to be in the front, but you can also exhale from the back, you can also exhale from the arms. So in this practice, I'm going to ask you to exhale up the arms, up the back, then up the front. And again, we'll work towards 1 minute. So try not to seep the air out. Keep the chest lifted till the last moment, but try and stay really relaxed as much as possible. So take a preparatory breath in, then breathe out. Again, breathe in and out. Now take a full breath in. Hold the breath in and then follow. Start to exhale by lengthening your fingers, lengthening your wrist and feeling like your arm is like a cylinder that narrows and lengthened. Exhale, up the forearm, up the upper arm. Feel like the arm is narrowing and lengthening all the way to the base of the neck. That's 20 seconds. Now lower the sitting bones, keep the tailbone down, but exhale from your lower back moving in slightly. Push the middle back in slightly. Push the base of the ribs inward slightly without lifting the tailbone. Push the upper back in slightly. Push the base of the back of the neck in slightly. Lift the back of the base of the skull. That's 40 seconds. Then bring your lower abdomen inwards to exhale. Keep the chest lifted. Middle abdomen in to exhale. Stay soft in the abdomen. Upper abdomen, if possible, just the transverse abdominis. Exhale from the lower ribs, middle ribs, upper ribs. That's 1 minute. If you're adept, you should still have half a lung. But gradually you'll learn to improve the exhalation. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so again, just the last second, the last sentence, please. If you're adept,
Okay. So if you are adept at this, you should have been able to exhale for 1 minute continuously, but only exhaled even a half of your lung. But some of you would have found still that your exhalation was much shorter. But if you felt an improvement compared to the first time that you did it, this is progress. So all it takes now is practice. How long can you do one exhalation for? And then gradually, can you learn to do 4 or 5 exhalations in a row? And we'll practice that in a few minutes, making them maybe not 1 minute, but 45 seconds. Let's try that next. Thank you.